stopper with great skill from him. Doing the Mo Salah! Raheem Sterling! What a finish! What pure class from the Englishman!
Premier Talk, the English Premier League podcast for the fans.
Hello and welcome back to the Premier Talk podcast. This is episode 8 of season 3. Got a little bit of a different episode today. We're going to talk about the international break, World Cup qualifiers, as there's no Premier League action within the last 2 weeks. I'm one of your two co-hosts, as always, Andrew Mello, and alongside with me is Danny Barbudo, sporting a Manchester United kit today. Daniel, how's it going, bro?
I'm doing great, Andrew. How are you?
I'm not doing too good, man. Portugal. Terrible.
In terms of those circumstances, I'm not doing that well either. But
yeah, Daniel, because of that, I'm not doing too well. No, I'll be honest, I'm not doing too well. Portugal has really crushed me this international break.
yeah, it's been tough for Portuguese and Italian fans out there. You know, Portugal and Italy may be out of the World Cup. We'll soon find out. Gonna start us off with our starting lineup. First, discussing Premier League news,
Then we're going to go into some World Cup qualifying.
and then Canada, the absolute run of form that the Canadian men's national team has been on. Not a long episode for you guys, but it's gonna be a good one as always. Let's kick us off. Premier League news. Andrew, Dean Smith, after being sacked by Aston Villa, has now just signed to manage Norwich. What are we thinking about this one?
Yeah, Daniel's out of a job 1 week. He's got a job the next week. It's I think he'll fit in with the Norwich system. It's a losing culture, and he's a losing coach, so I think he'll fit in nicely over there. He had a poor season with Villa, and he gets fired, and now he gets hired to take over Norwich. At Norwich, he's not going to be able to do much. He's going to have even less at his disposal, so it's going to be even more of a difficult task for him. So less pressure, obviously, because they're more likely they're going to go down. Most likely they're going to go down. So, it was just a safe pick for Norwich. Nothing crazy, and for Dean Smith, it's just getting a job and getting that paycheck coming in again.
I think if you're Norwich, you would sign somebody who didn't just get sacked by a team that like Aston Villa, who has a better squad than Norwich does. You would think you would want to bring somebody new into the Premier League, maybe change up tactics a little bit, see what they can do with this Norwich side that isn't the greatest. So this one didn't really make sense to me. I guess if you're Dean Smith, you're happy because you're back in a job after being sacked last week. So I guess good
Then
for him.
if they want things to change, they need a coach that's going to come in and change the culture there. They need to do some big revamping, and it comes down to having to spend some dollars, right? They need to spend some money, bring in some players, bring in a coach that could attract some players, and come with a play style that's exciting to watch, because right now they're just going into a lot of Premier League games, especially with their old manager. They were just trying to hold on, and they could never do enough. So they have to take a different angle on it in the Premier League if they want to sustain life up there in the first flight of football.
More Premier League news coming out of England. Reports in Manchester saying that the United board has decided to finally sack Ole when they find a suitable replacement. So who knows the timeline that they're looking for? It means Ole may eventually, because knowing this United board, they're going to do it at the end of the season. He's going to be on his way out when they do find a suitable replacement. I know I speak for some United fans and people around the world who enjoy football. I want Zidane to come in to this role. I think me and Andrew discussed him multiple times. Zidane is a guy who's had players like Ronaldo on his side, Varane, who both currently sit on this United team. And
French connection.
there you go. There's so many players that Zidane can come in and take a hold of. Players with massive egos and players that are so well known. Like this United side is just full of individual superstars, other than the backline. The backline is just shocking. But they have such talent on this team that they can go places in the Premier League. They can go places in Champions League. They can rival for those top teams in Europe, but they're just not doing it. And I think that Ole has a massive role to play. I think the players don't want to play for him anymore. And I think the quicker they find a replacement for him, the better this team will be as a whole.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it so stupid for them to come out and say this, like leaking reports, because that's probably how it came out, leaking the reports that that they're finally ready to get rid of Ole. Why not just get a replacement and it's done? Why do we have to have the drama? Why do we have to have these reports swirl out and be like, oh, we're ready to get rid of him, but yet we don't have someone to replace him? So I think it's stupid that they're doing this, that this has been leaked out of Manchester. I think it should just be bang, we have this new coach, Ole's out right away, one and done. But here they are dragging it on. They're leaving the potential for him to stay around. It's not definitive, Daniel. It's not definitive. And um, I think he's still got one foot in the door. He hasn't left yet. So um, not very convincing news for me and for a lot of Manchester United fans that want to see him go.
I think it's his time has come and gone, and I think that the quicker they can get him out, the better for the squad. Moving on to the main topic of the day, massive around the world right now, especially because we're on international break. World Cup qualifying. World Cup qualifying has been going on, I think, over the last year now. Teams have been battling for their country to try to get their spot, one of the 32 teams in the World Cup, starting in the winter of 2022, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's in Qatar this year, so it's going to be in the winter instead of the summer, because in the summer it's way too hot, there. So they decided to put in the winter. So winter of 2022, teams are trying to qualify for the World Cup. So far, Serbia, Spain, Switzerland, France, Belgium, Denmark, Netherlands, Croatia, England, Germany have all qualified for the World Cup from the European side. In the South American side, Argentina and Brazil, they've both qualified as well. That is 3, 6, 9, 12 teams that have already qualified for the World Cup. So that leaves another 20 teams left to qualify. And you still need to look at CONCACAF. You still have to look at the rest of the South American teams. You still have to look at many other nations that
Also,
are
Africa
going to
too. Like, I don't want to get into
Africa too. There's so many other
Disney.
nations still that have time to qualify. These are just the ones that are already in. And then coming out of Europe, with these sides being put through, the teams that finished second in their group get put into a separate qualifying. And those teams consist of Portugal, which is why Andrew hasn't been feeling great over the last couple of days.
It's a new format too, guys. It's a new format.
It is. It's
We'll
a
get
new
into the
format.
format a little bit. Yeah.
We're going to try to explain. Portugal, Sweden, Italy, which is just hasn't been a good run of weeks for me either. Ukraine, Wales, Scotland, Turkey, Russia, Poland, and Macedonia. They all need to head into a second round of qualifying to make the World Cup. And they will also be joined by Austria and Czech Republic, who are coming from the Nations League. This new style, this tournament style of qualifying, is basically they're put into 3 groups of 4. There's 4 teams based on your ranking. That's how you find your semifinal matchup. It's 1 game semifinal, 1 game finals. It's not like it's 2 legs like Champions League would be. These teams get put in. If you win both games, your semifinals and your finals, I'm going to say it's semifinal finals because it's your before, you head to the World Cup. Those teams that don't, see you in 2024 for the Euros, because they will not be headed to Qatar in 2022. The winners, okay, so obviously the winners headed to Qatar. There's only 3 of them, and that's the new format. The new format has changed from previous years. Before there was it was never like this. It was never
It was a two-leg home and away, and I'll never forget Ronaldo destroying Sweden. That was Ronaldo versus Ibra. That was a crazy 2-leg matchup there.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't want to say it's weird, because I do actually like this style. I think you should have the upper hand going into the second round of qualifying because of where your rank is. Therefore, you should be getting worse teams to play in your semifinal match, but then your final match might be just as difficult. Italy and Portugal could play each other they could get placed in the same group of 4, which means they could meet in the finals to see who would be heading to the World Cup, which could be absolutely nuts, because just for me and Andrew's rivalry, Portuguese versus Italian, and their rivalry as a whole has always been massive. And to see one of them being kicked out of the World Cup would be huge.
Yeah, Daniel, if that were to happen, I think that Little Italy and College and St. Clair and Toronto, respectively, would be all out chaos. I think there's this big feud. I know that there's this big feud between Italians, Portuguese, and Toronto. I don't know why, because anywhere else you go in the world, it's not really a big rivalry, but it is here. So I think that'd just be absolutely like insane for the city, if they do match up. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, Daniel. I think that UEFA wouldn't want that to happen. They would want the 2 biggest teams in this qualifying round to advance. Obviously, that imagine not having Italy or Portugal in the World Cup, it's a big loss. They're big footballing nations. They're the last two teams, respectively, to win the Euro Cups. Italy this year, and then 4 years or 5 years ago because of COVID, 2016, it was Portugal and France. So imagine one of those two teams not being there, the likes of Ronaldo not being there, the likes of some Italian tenured players that have been in almost every single tournament not being there. This would, I think, the stat was that this would be the first time a defending champion doesn't make it if Italy fails to qualify for a World Cup.
Mhm.
Um, for this World Cup. So that'd be history there for Italy, but not in a good way. But
Mhm.
Daniel, I just want to get into Portugal for a little bit here because I'm a very devoted fan of the Portuguese national team. Being Portuguese, growing up in a Portuguese household, that you have to you watch the games. You're exposed to the football and culture or whatever, right? So it's something I've been watching with my dad and my brother for a very long time, and it's something you feel very connected with because it's your country, it's where you're from. So there's this sense of passion, right? And you can't choose an international team like you can a club team, right? So it's a different feeling, it's a different vibe for sure. And just looking at Portugal over the last slew of qualifying games, they've been absolutely poor. They've been able to scrape through with results against these smaller countries, and I always feel like Portugal comes out, but they're always coming out to play for a draw, and that's just the coaching style that Fernando Santos brings. It's a terrible coaching style. I hate it. I know a lot of my friends hate it. A lot of people that I've spoken with this about hate it. They want him out as coach, and they're just literally sucking all the life out of the 2016 European Championship. That's what they're hanging on to. It was great. This was the first time Portugal has ever won on the international level. They were massive underdogs, and they had a terrific tournament in terms of being an underdog and winning, right? But in terms of the quality of football that they played, it was nothing spectacular to watch. And I know that at the end of the day, results matter, not the way you play. But we're seeing that style of football is not the right style for this team. There's just loads and loads of talent on this team, from Bernardo Silva to the GOAT and Ronaldo to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes looks like he's like Scott McTominay for the national team, and then for Manchester United, he's a completely different player. Ruben Dias, another one. João Cancelo, one of the best fullbacks in the world. Like, this Portuguese team is stacked, but it's the certain pieces that he likes to play around these guys. Like, he calls in Willem Carvalho for no reason. Now he has no business being on this team. João Moutinho, he did fantastic for us in tournaments past, but his age has really shown in these last couple of call ups of the national team. He doesn't have the legs anymore. And he's benching guys like Renato Sanchez. We saw Renato Sanchez being benched in the Euros this past summer, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's an engine. He brings life to this team. He helps drive the team forward. He's just a fantastic complement to Bruno Fernandes, and he really elevates Bruno's game. But we see him on the bench, which is like, it raises massive eyebrows, right? So there's these certain, like, he also likes to play two sixes like William and Danilo. Like, it's just stupidness that he likes to carry on the team, and he favors these certain players. Um, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Anyone watching the game would want a player like Renato Sanchez in the field, game in, game out. But he seems to find himself on the bench. It makes no sense to me, Daniel, why he's still coaching this national team. There's so many Portuguese coaches out there that are willing to take the job, have already come out into the news. Luis Castro, a former Shakhtar coach, former coach in Guimarães. He's a good coach. He's been there in the Champions League before. He wants to coach this national team. I think of a guy like André Villas-Boas, coached Porto, he coached Marseille, he coached Tottenham. Like, he's coached these big clubs. He could be a guy to come in and manage these egos and help put the right guys on the squad list. Um, and then there's I think of another guy in Rui Jorge. He's the coach of the U21s right now. He's been there through with the national system. He knows the players. He's coached a lot of these players throughout the years, and they've grown and gone on to play for the men's team. He knows what the system's like. So that's what's so concerning for me. We have the options available, but our coach, he just doesn't call them up. Like, the guy, I think of Pedro Gonçalves, formerly of Wolves, Premier League man. He's known as Pot. That's his nickname. He's been fantastic for Sporting. He helped them win the league last year. He's a fantastic goal scorer. He could play down the middle of the park. But instead, we call guys like João Moutinho. It doesn't make sense to me, Daniel. It's just super frustrating to watch the Portuguese soccer. It's garbage soccer. It's terrible soccer. It's absolutely garbage. I could go on and on. Guys like Ricardo Pereira that plays for Leicester, another terrific fullback. Why is Nelson Smith getting called up? He's not where he was 3, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
He's a defensive liability. He's gotten his chance. Give Ricardo Pereira a chance. I know João Cancelo is going to start, but in terms of rotation, I'd rather have a guy like Ricardo Pereira playing over Nelson Smith. And give him a chance. Give him a chance. It's just ridiculous. These squad lists that he's called sometimes are just they're just shocking. And he says he's going to leave if they don't qualify. But that's not going to change anything. We
Mhm.
went into this game against Serbia with the advantage. We were playing at home. We already played our away leg. I'm not even going to get into the away leg. That was the first game of the qualifying. We scored at the very end, but there's no VAR, no goal line. Clearly over the line. But anyways, that's no excuse. We should have been good on this day. We could have gone for a tie. We could have won. We could have advanced with the tie. A tie would have been enough
Mhm.
because we had the goal difference. And we scored 2 minutes in by way of Renato Sanchez. But this team just switched off, Daniel. They switched off. There's no life when you have guys like João Moutinho playing in the middle. I'm sorry. Serbia, they deserved it. They played with heart. They played with passion. I don't think these guys want to play for this coach anymore. I think there's a lot of headbutting in the locker room because he's a very stubborn coach. Very,
Mhm.
very stubborn coach. And I don't think these guys want to play for him like that. And it just they just play poorly. The lineup that he puts out, I don't understand. And we had it all to play for. We had the advantage, and then we end up bottling the game, losing 2-1, and finding ourselves on the outside, having to play two difficult matches. I don't care who it's against. I don't care if it's Macedonia we're playing first. It's gonna be two hard games, very two hard games, and anything could happen
Mhm.
in one game. It could go to extra time, penalty shots, and you're out. You're done.
Yep.
And what are we gonna do then? It's just I can't wrap my head around some of the things going on with this national team right now because we have too much talent to be playing like shit. So
The I can't lie to you. This Portuguese national team reminds me of it would be 5 years ago now when Portugal had won. No, it would be when was the last Worlds?
last World Cup,
Yeah,
2018, it was in Russia and Portugal failed to make it out of the groups.
yeah. That was when the last time Italy didn't qualify for a World Cup, and
Yes.
everything that happened in Italy's run of failing to make for the World Cup is exactly what you're explaining right now with this Portuguese side. Their coach was shocking. He was playing players that didn't deserve to be there, and even if they did deserve to be there, they were older and they were just there for their leadership and the veteranness that teams like to bring. Which I think we're past that stage. Like you talk about like guys like João Moutinho, who's playing for the Portugal side. Like, of course you want him there because he's a leader and he's a guy that's been on this Portugal team for the last what 10, 15 years of his life. But those type of players, it's time to move on from. And I can't stand when you see these older guys coming in and taking up playing minutes from guys that deserve to be there, who are young, who can show their status on a world stage and can prove to themselves and their fans back at home and their managers at a club level that they can play on the biggest stages.
And sorry, Daniel, just to correct myself, I got confused with one of the other tournaments. Portugal did make it out of the 2018 World Cup, but they played poorly in their groups. They tied to Iran. They barely beat Morocco. And then they went out to play against Uruguay in the knockout round, and they played absolutely garbage. They got bodied by Cavani. So, just yeah, I messed up on that, but I want to correct myself. So
It's I don't know. I like this Portugal side, even this Italy side too. They've both been bad and they know they've been bad. Like if there isn't much leeway that's given, especially by like the media in these two cases, because these two teams are world-class teams and there's no reason that they should be playing in a second qualifying to try to barely squeeze into the World Cup. Like Italy's defending champions of Europe and they're not showing it right now. Like I just it's very like I can't wrap my head around the fact that these teams are playing as poorly as they all are with the quality that they have on both sides. I
and
hate watching it and it's disgusting to
And
watch.
Daniel, you should see Fernando Santos in the media press conferences. They ask him questions and he never sticks up for his players. It's always beating around the bush with him, never assertive. And there's it feels like there's no passion from the guy, man. I wish like a guy like NES would come in, Nuno Espírito Santo. He would be a great option too. Because he just brings passion. He's a coach that coaches with passion, gives energy. He's like Klopp in that sense. And I think that's what Portugal is missing, a guy like that on the sideline, because Fernando Santos just sits there and stands there like a pylon on the sidelines, not really saying much all the time. You always see in the games, he always got his is head down. So I don't like coaches like that coaching, especially the national side with so much talent. It's a golden era for Portugal. The last major tournament for Ronaldo, surely at the international level for
Hmm.
sure. You have guys like young guys up and coming like Jean Felix. You
Hmm.
know, you have guys like Bernardo Silva's in their prime. Bruno Fernandes hitting the prime. Ruben Dias hasn't even hit his prime. He's going to be in there in a couple years. You still haven't seen the best from Ruben Dias. I'm telling you that right now. João Cancelo about to hit his prime. These are fantastic, fantastic players. You cannot waste, man. You cannot waste.
Hmm.
Nuno Mensch, a top fullback. He's going to be one of the best in the world. Mark my words. He'll be one of the best in the world. Very good physically. Very smart. Fullback knows when to jump up and join the attack. That's a guy you're wasting. You're wasting these guys, man. The way you play boring, shitty soccer. It's
Hmm.
terrible shit to watch. Pardon my language, man, but it's just so frustrating. I just watch these games and the Serbia game really pissed me off the other day, man, because we were in the driving seat. We were in the driving seat, but Serbia, they were playing good soccer. They were playing passionate. They were playing hungry, like they really wanted. And Portugal was missing that. They were missing that, and there was no excuse playing at home in the Stade de Luge, a place that you've defended so well in terms of results, getting always positive results out of there, and then you go in, you let Serbia beat you. It's a joke. It's a joke, man. This federation right now pisses me off. It's a joke.
Even with Italy tying Northern Ireland the other day, the same. It was that game they needed to win. I think they ended up needing to win by 2 goals because Switzerland absolutely destroyed Bulgaria. I think the final
Yeah.
score was like 3-0 or 4-0.
Hmm.
Italy needed to win that game, and they didn't look like they wanted to be there. Like Northern Ireland came out hungry. They knew that as that team was already out of they were mathematically impossible. It was mathematically impossible for them to make the World Cup, and they still came out there like guns a blazing. They knew that they could go out and shock the world and prove to people that even though they're not in the World Cup, they can still compete with top teams. And that's exactly what they did. Their game plan was to sit back, wait for Italy to run at them, and then counterattack them. The game ended 0-0, but it was perfect for Northern Ireland because they upset Italy just by stealing a point from them. And it also took Italy out of contention from advancing automatically to the World Cup and forcing them to go play more qualifying. It's exactly what you want from a side that has no business being there, and they know that they can't make the World Cup already. They're just there to play spoiler, and they did a great job of doing it. So kudos to Northern Ireland.
Yeah, and Daniel, just another shocking thing from the Serbia game. One of the best players on the field. He's been in the best form coming into this international break out of all Portuguese players. There's none other than Bernardo Silva. And what happens? He gets taken off with like 30 minutes to play.
Mm-hmm.
You can't reason. You can't reason these things. You can't. We needed a guy like that in there. We needed a guy like that in there. Control the midfield. You know, drive the ball forward alongside Renato Sanchez. We needed that creativity. We didn't need to hold a game.
Mm-hmm.
I know. You hold the game by keeping possession. He's such a scared coach. He always plays defensively, always plays for the tie. Ask anyone that watches Portuguese soccer, they'll say the exact same thing. When you have this team, you have to act like you're the best, be the best. And I was actually impressed. I was impressed the way we played against France. A couple, maybe 6 months ago, I think it was in the UEFA Nations League. In the first leg, we played a tremendous game. We got a draw away. And I was really pleased because France is a top team, and we played like we were a top team
Mm-hmm.
against them, which we should, because of the players we have at our disposal. And it just after that slowly been going down, and it hasn't been good enough. So you know you got to fix things quick. And if I was the federation, I want Fernando Santos out already, but it's hard to do that when you only got a couple months for the knockouts, which are happening in March.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna do them in a week span or so, so it's gonna go quick in March. So we'll know in March, um, who's going to the World Cup. But before that, I think it's the November. It's an upcoming Friday in November. I believe it's
20.
this
It's
Friday.
yeah, a week tomorrow.
Is the draw. So
Is the
we
draw.
want to see if Portugal are gonna be in the same four as Italy. Um, it'll
I
be a
don't think it's gonna
big,
happen just because
big.
of
Yeah,
UEFA.
UEFA probably wouldn't want to see that. I don't know. They'll probably rig it somehow. But if Portugal and Italy are not in the same group, I would be comfortable knowing that Portugal would go through,
Mm-hmm.
because I know against Italy, probably I think Portugal would lose right now to Italy. Um, Portugal, if Portugal catches Ukraine, who knows what Ukraine could do? I know we haven't had a good history with them in the past in Euro qualifying. Uh, they could probably upset us as well. That's how low in confidence I am right now. Teams like Poland, they'd probably beat Portugal, give us a hard time. The only teams I'm not necessarily concerned with is like the Wales, right? And Wales has really tapered off.
North Macedonia.
North Macedonia, Scotland. Um, don't sleep on Turkey. Turkey had a bad World Cup, but
Well,
I
it was
still think
their World Cup
it was
campaign was,
brutal. But
or
I
Euros was
I still think
shocking.
they're a decent national team, and I think they give you know many teams hard times. But anyways, yeah, I'm done talking about Portugal. That make me frustrated. So
I think I don't think there's a chance that UEFA will allow Italy and Portugal to be in the same group. So therefore, I have both of them going through. Hopefully, for both our sakes, that they do head to the World Cup, because it would be embarrassing if they don't. I think the third team I'm going to have to go with here. I know Turkey, like Turkey was one of those teams headed into the Euros this year that I thought they were going to cause
oh,
a
sorry,
lot of teams trouble.
I think Sweden's the third best team beside Italy and Portugal. I think Sweden's very good. They had
Sweden.
a very good Euro too. So
I'm going to go with Ukraine.
yeah,
I
Ukraine
think
had a good
Ukraine's
Euro
going to be the
too.
third. I think Ukraine's going to be the third to advance into the World Cup. But I don't want to see Italy playing Ukraine, because Ukraine kicked us out of the
But
World
I don't
Cup.
think Shevchenko's there anymore. I don't think Shevchenko's there. He took a job managing. I can't
Oh,
remember.
he did.
I think it was in Italy, Genoa. Or, I can't remember.
I mean, they were good in the Euros, so I can't see them being. I
And
like
then
obviously
and they have the
times.
Benfica
Obviously,
man.
it's been a while, but
They have the Benfica man Yaremchuk. So watch out for Yaremchuk. But yeah, yeah. Beyond that, no, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Dan. I'm good.
okay, we're gonna move on. We're positive topic. Our third and final segment.
Oh, Canada, baby. Oh, Canada. And there's two Portuguese guys in here, actually. Low key.
So, Canada's men's national team has been absolutely incredible in World Cup qualifying. They're in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Before I start with this, for those of you that don't know, Andrew and I were both from Canada, repping our national team.
I got the kid up today, actually.
Andrew has a kid up, and for those of you that are watching on YouTube, for those of you watching on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to, go watch on YouTube as well, just to see the kit. This Canadian national team has been incredible.
Yep.
All year. They have the most goals scored of any national team this calendar year, which is nuts. Especially when you look at literally, all you need to do is just look at England's last two games. The last two games England's played, they've scored 18 goals, and Canada still has more goals than them this year, which is nuts. Considering this Canada team is not known for their goal scoring, they have Alphonso Davies, who they're playing like left wing, striker, right wing, center back, fullback, center mid.
Literally.
That guy is a monster of a human being, and this team has just outperformed their expectations. I don't think many teams expect them to do as well as they're doing. I know a lot of people, especially in Canada, wanted them to make the World Cup, because if you look at the CONCACAF qualifying, the two teams that are in there that almost make it every year are the States and Mexico, because those are two powerhouses.
But CONCACAF has one more spot direct now, which is good, which helps Canada's chances. So they used to have two and then a third
now
playoff.
it's three.
Now it's three in a playoff. So it makes their chances go up drastically. And then on top of that, they have their team's booming this year. So
they do currently sit top of the group in CONCACAF, ahead of Mexico and the States, after beating Mexico 2-0 on, I believe, what
2-1,
was Tuesday night?
2-1.
2-1. Oh yeah, Mexico scored
from Herrera
really late.
Yeah.
Kyle Larin, he has 22 goals in 43 international games. He was great. He scored a brace against Mexico, and he started over Jonathan David. And a lot of people in the Canadian media and a lot of fans of the national team was like, why is David not playing, especially the form he's been in the league on? And kudos to the what's the coach's name?
John Erdman.
John Erdman. He came in, he put Larin up top, and Larin ended up getting them on 2 goals to win this game.
Yeah, Daniel, I was scratching my head. Like, I'm like, why is Jonathan David not playing? But they really wanted to stay organized defensively going into this game because they knew Mexico was the best technical team in this qualification of CONCACAF. They're very good technically. So they really wanted to sit back and wait for a Mexican era and really be able to counterattack. And that guy, Kyle Larin, he was their hold-up striker. That's what they used him for. He was the guy to hold up the ball if a ball was stretched long, and then work with Alphonso Davies off ball. So that's why they used him as a target man, because he's a little bit bigger than Jonathan David. Jonathan David is a guy that likes to get the ball played into his feet and then go at defenders. It's a different play style. So I think it was the right tactical decision. At the end of the day, I was kind of like thinking about it before the game. Why are we doing this? But it ended up, proving to be the best choice because he did score 2 goals and he was in the right position on both goals. One was a cracking first time hit from Alistair Johnson. Alistair he's a right back by trade, plays for Nashville, but he plays for center back for the national team in the 3-back system. It's kind of weird system. They play 3-4-3, but it moves around a lot. Sometimes a 3-5-2 even. But he cracked a shot. Ochoa gave, I think it was a pretty bad rebound. He should have pushed away much better. And Kyle
Yeah,
Lowry
I
was in the
agree.
right position as a striker should be, and he popped it in the net and made no mistake of it. That was a good goal right before half too. Right before half,
Mhm.
critical goal, really set the tone, and kind of had majority possession at the end of the first half. They had majority possession. They're playing very patiently, and I really like that. Um, I think it wasn't one of his best games. Alfonso Davies wasn't the most involved, but it didn't matter because it's a real team performance.
Mhm.
And on the second goal, terrific ball in from Eustaquio, Portuguese guy. Uh, he's played in the Portuguese system as well. He plays for Paço Ferreira right now. Played for Chaves. Played in Mexico for Cruz Azul. He's originally from Windsor, actually in Canada, near the border there. He's from Windsor, and he's just been fantastic. He's been a guy that they picked up, and convinced him to play for Canada. And he's been an instrumental player here for them down the middle of the park. Because without him, Canada would not nearly be as good as this. Because he's good at recuperating balls, good at stretching the play. Very very smart player and a very smart number 8. He's
Mhm.
very good defensively and he's even better, I think, in terms of stretching the play and finding guys like Alfonso Davies on the run. And then Steven Vitoria, who has captained this side the last couple of times, another Portuguese connection there. He used to play for Benfica at one point. Plays for career plays for Moreirense in Portugal as a center half. He didn't start this game. I was concerned about that too because he's been fantastic all qualifying. Um, Daniel Henry got the nod ahead of him, but Daniel Henry ended up playing very recklessly, getting a yellow card, and then he had an injury. They're saying it's an injury. I think it was because of the caution, but
Mhm.
Steven Vitória came on and he led this team, man. He led this team. He's a very good in the air, and he's been another great addition to the program in the last couple of years. So these little pickups here and there. Another one, Ike Ugbo, used to play for Chelsea, plays in the Belgian league, scored 16 goals for Cercle Bruges. I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong last year. It's got the green logo with the C on it, and now he's playing for Genk in Belgium. So another guy that plays European football that they bring into this team. So
Mhm.
they're slowly getting some pieces together. And how cool would it be to see a guy like Fikayo Tomori, who also has ties to Canada, plays for AC Milan right now. He's British, but he has ties to Canada. He's eligible to play for Canada. That'd be a amazing sign to get at the back. But
Mhm.
beyond that, I'm just looking at the team right now. The team's been fantastic. I've never been so tuned in to watch Canadian soccer. The ratings have been fantastic on TV. They have better ratings than the Maple Leafs,
I know.
like better than NHL hockey right now, which is Canada's top sport. So you slowly see the shift in culture here in Canada because soccer is not the top sport, but it's slowly working its way up the ladder and slowly attracting a lot of people. And that's because of this team, the talent on this team, guys like Alfonso Davies, guys like Jonathan David, guys like Ishtaku, guys like Kyle Larin, these guys, and then there's also guys like Atiba
Buchanan.
Hutchison, Buchanan, but Atiba Hutchison, he's been a fantastic servant to the Canadian program. He's 38 years old, plays for Besiktas alongside Kyle Larin in UCL soccer, and he's still very fit, and he's been very instrumental in leading this team. So there's guys like that. You can't sleep on guys like that because
Mhm.
they really keep the team together. So I could go on and on about this kind of team, but Daniel, I just want to hear from you. Do you think they can obviously qualify with the position they're in, and then beyond that, what do you think their objective is? Say they make the World Cup.
Mhm. I think this team has the best shot of making the World Cup since 1986, which was the last time they made the World Cup. I think that this team has proved so much more than what people thought that they could do coming into CONCACAF qualifying. Just beating this Mexico side, they had already tied the States. They play the States when we come back in January on our next international break. Our next few games are massive. And I think with just a few wins,
Hmm.
they're going to propel themselves into the World Cup, and it's going to be huge across the entire nation. Like you said, there's fans coming out of everywhere right now. People want to see this national team win because of the hype and the enthusiasm that this team brings, especially on the pitch. They're a great side, and I think they're finally starting to show it. Making the World Cup would be a massive accomplishment. It would probably be the biggest thing that this Canada team has done ever. Looking at the players that they have, their team is finally good enough to rival a World Cup spot. when you go into now what they would do if they're in the World Cup, that's where I come back down to earth a little bit, because playing European sides and playing teams from South America and Africa, I don't know if they'll have as good of a chance, because those teams technically are
Different
levels.
level. Yeah, different level.
They're different. It's different gravy. I don't know if Canada, I think they would be so happy to make it to the World Cup. I don't think the expectations would be for them to go past the group stage. I don't think that's.
I disagree with you there, because I think that with the new format and the third place teams, some of the best third place teams making out of the group, I think that's something they could really contend for. I think that the third place qualification into the next round would be a realistic objective for them, and I think it's one that's not too far out of reach. And then Daniel, going back to the game, they had the weather in favor for them. It was -14 with the wind chill in Edmonton. There was snow on the ground, so I think that definitely favored them on this day and really helped them to beat a top team in Mexico, because Mexico is definitely not used to playing in this weather. But beyond that, Daniel, looking at the rest of qualification, they have a good number of away games to play in, against some of these more difficult sides. Panama is a very important fixture that's going to come up soon. They have to look at that in the calendars, because that's away. They're playing Jamaica home. They're playing Honduras away, El Salvador away. The quality in El Salvador and Honduras is not the best. They're sitting lower in the table, but you're playing away and you never know. It's hard to go down to those environments and play and get a result. So that's where the real task is to be. They had it in favor for them in Edmonton, but now they're going down south. And they're gonna have to play in some tough conditions down there. So best of luck to the Canadian men's national team, and exciting things to come for this team.
One last thing I want to point out. I'm not sure how it works with with the teams that get in from CONCACAF being put into pots, because that's a massive thing going into the World Cup, because there's obviously pots A, B, C, and D, and pots A are the top teams in the world: Argentina, Brazil, France, Belgium, Germany, Spain. They do this so that those teams have the best chance of making it through the next round, because
you're rewarded for where you finish. Exactly.
Yeah, you want to see the top teams compete at a top level in the knockout round, where everything matters. So Canada, even if they do get in, my guess would be that they'd be put in a pot C or D.
I
don't know. I don't want to speculate anything, but I can't see, I don't think CONCACAF, World Cup, is going to put anybody from CONCACAF into pot A or B, because those pots are still top quality teams.
I'm not sure how the seeding works, but I think I've seen Mexico in years past when they've qualified. They've been one of the better pots. I can't remember. I don't think it was A. It may have been C or B. B being the very highest. I can't remember though. I don't want to say for sure. So, I don't know.
So let's say even if it is C, they're still going up against a team from pot A and a team from top B.
Yeah.
That are going to be top sides. And in order for you to even finish third in a group, you're going to have to win against a top side, because you have to be one of the best third place teams for you to go into the knockout round. It's going to be tough from a Canadian national standpoint. I think just getting into the World Cup is going to be so massive that us being there is already a big enough accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, Daniel, we got to beat the USA. You play them at home. We already play them away. You got to draw. Daniel, we have to go out and beat them at home now. Got to beat them at home.
That's all it comes down to.
Yep. That about wraps it up for this episode, Daniel. It was a good episode. Talked a little bit less about the Premier League today. A lot less because of international reasons. But it was a different episode. I liked this take on the international stage. It was fun. A little frustrating talking about Portugal too, for sure. A little bit better with Canada. That brought my mood up for sure. But it was another good one nonetheless. Will Portugal and Italy make it to the World Cup? We're going to have to wait. We're going to have to see. We're going to stay tuned to that. Daniel wraps it up for another episode. Thanks, guys, for listening. Catch us on all the platforms. Right, Daniel?
Every platform ever. Wherever you want to listen, we're there. YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It doesn't matter. We're there. RSS. Spirit Live. For those of you that go to Ryerson listening to the podcast, hop on Spirit Live. Go listen to us there. Wherever you guys want to be, and we appreciate you guys as always. And one final thing, follow us on Instagram at Premier Talk Podcast. We appreciate it.
That's it for this episode. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.
See you later.